everyone. So happy to have you join us for Good News on Entertainment tonight. I'm Carly Boyette. Easter is just around the corner, and first up tonight, we are highlighting a movie coming to theaters the whole family will enjoy, and it tells the Easter story beautifully. It's called 47 Days with Jesus, and it even stars two familiar faces you will recognize if you are a fan of The Chosen. Before I talk with those two leads of the film, let's take a look at 47 Days with Jesus.
Hey, hey!
Dad, Papa just started telling us this amazing story with people singing and dancing.
Oh, yeah? Dad, what are you telling them this time?
The story of the last 47 days of Jesus' life on earth.
Oh, you say the meeting is on Saturday? That's the day before Easter.
Yeah, so?
I gotta spend time with my family.
Don't you realize this is for your family?
Where's Joseph?
Oh, he's on a work call.
This late? You're making the same mistakes that I made. It's painful to watch.
I have to make a choice for my family.
I want my partner back. I want my family to be whole.
If you ever feel stuck or lost, God is still at work in our lives. I have faith things will be okay.
It's life, Joseph. You might miss it if you don't open your eyes.
Well, Yoshi and Catherine, what a treat to get some time with both of you. How are you?
Thank you. We're so excited to be here.
It is so fun to see. We're going to start with The Chosen because that is where I know people have seen you and loved you. And it's so interesting to see y'all working together on another project that takes us back to the biblical days, but still just a little different. So let's start there because it is so nice to see the two of y'all working together. How did that come about when you first found out, like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, we got this. We can do this together.
Well, do you want to
Tell her the story. Tell her the story.
We have this fun story where we both just organically came to the job. I think we probably just both had auditions and, our agents sent us the stuff. And so we did it. And then when we got to set, there was one day we were both getting our hair and makeup done. And Yoshi, like at some point in the conversation, Chosen came up and Yoshi was like, wait, you were on The Chosen? The funny thing is, like, we both worked on season 3, but neither of us worked in nearly the same scenes. So it's just, productions are huge. And it's just a nice reminder that, like, you can work on the same project with someone and never meet. And so we were just grateful to be able to meet on this project.
When I was out at the teal carpet for the premiere of The Chosen, that I heard that a lot of people not, they were excited to finally meet each other.
Right. Yeah.
But I bring that up, Yoshi, because you were missed. So I just wanted to say that you are still loved by the fans. And again, it's so good to see you. And again, still be part of this faith-based community that's telling stories about Jesus. So tell me a little bit more, of course, of what you can about what that process kind of looked for you.
Yeah, it's I obviously miss everyone and miss the fam and miss the fans. And, but, my path has led me elsewhere. But yeah, if you asked me, at the beginning of my career, if I was going to be in the religious and faith-based industry, I would have told you that's crazy, but that's just where I am. And, blessings to The Chosen for giving me the opportunity they gave me and kind of put me on this path. And we'll see if I continue to do projects in this arena. I'm open to it. But yeah, we went from Chosen to I did a TBN special where I actually played Jesus, and now we're doing this great family quirky film where we're telling a story about a modern day family with a modern day situation and sort of tying it back into the story of the last 47 days of Jesus's life on earth, and kind of showing how some of these themes of forgiveness and fear versus faith are sort of like timeless archetypes, and we're sort of tying the family's drama into the drama that surrounds Christ.
You brought up the word family twice now, and that's kind of what I wanted to start with. I've seen it. I got a chance to see the movie before we chatted, and that was my biggest takeaway is this is so perfect, number one, timing for Easter. And I was so impressed to have a gospel story the way that this movie lays out. Even the crucifixion scene is still family friendly, kid friendly, because these are tough subjects when you're telling the story of Jesus and what happens. Even Judas and what happens to him. I thought everything was so tastefully done. And then to merge it into such a modern story of busyness. And as a mom of 3 kids myself, I totally get in this storyline of how we're all so busy and we can't lose sight of what the big picture is.
Yeah. I think our film's unique in that sense. Like you touched on, like we're sort of we've created something that gives families and children an opportunity to sort of relearn the Easter story from a gentle, sort of point of view. Like maybe some shows like The Chosen might be a little too intellectual, or maybe a child hasn't yet reached part of their development where they can like read the Bible for themselves. So through music and dance, we sort of tell the story in a unique way. And then, like you said, if your children are now going to be learning the Easter story for the first time in the theaters, well, the parents still have something to learn too, just like you did. Like it's like going to be something that's very relatable to many people. This balance between work life and family life, and how sometimes in this crazy capitalistic structure where we're all trying to survive and advance and provide for our families, it's not so obvious where that line is, where you don't give in to the opportunity to rather spend that day with your family, who you never know how much more time you have with them.
And Yoshi, I loved your character in this movie because you really drive home the point. Like you're working so much, you're being so busy for the betterment of your family, but it's still at the cost of your family as well. And like you said, it's a blurry line that I think so many families and parents are going to be able, to relate to.
Yeah, and he tricks himself into thinking he's doing it for them, but I think there's a kernel of selfishness that he's discovering is at the base of his motivations and intentions. And it's one of those things where like it's an honest mistake he makes, and the family gives him an opportunity to redeem himself, and through the telling of the Easter story, it's going to be a spring to the winter that this family's currently in, and it's going to be an opportunity for him to stumble back onto the path of faith.
Catherine, let's get to music for a minute because number one, I don't think I realized when I first saw the trailer how much music is in this, which is beautiful.
Yes.
And then I saw you post not too long, Catherine, of you singing, and you have an amazing voice.
Thank you.
So you don't sing in this movie, not that I remember,
No,
but I wonder
not
if
in
there's
this
more
one.
projects to come. You'll be able to
Thank you.
show that talent as well.
I hope so too. That'd be great. But yes, I do music, and you can see that on all my social media. I also, in real life, I'm a worship leader, so it's just a.
Oh,
It's
I
just
didn't know that. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, it's been a cool season. I got to start at one of my main churches out in California, and I have just been visiting other ministries throughout. And I'm working right now actually with a very Christian heavy writing group, and so we are coming up with some new tunes that hopefully we can share with the world very soon.
So I guess I'll both let you answer this.
Oh.
What is it that you hope? I mean, obviously the Easter story has been told countless times. But when you both agreed to take on this project, what was the hope? What were you kind of thinking when you said, yes, I want to be a part of this Easter telling?
I found the script really encouraging. I just remember reading it and feeling like there are so many scripts that have a story of a family in strife or struggle where they just sort of give in to that, whether it's depression or anxiety or whatever it is, they just give in to the problem. And I felt like this script actively sought ways to solve the problem. And I thought it was such a beautiful, encouraging methodology of storytelling where you could share that with your children. And throughout the story, it's like we all know the gospel. We've heard the gospel a million times, and it deeply starts to affect us as we go through the journey with this family. So I just thought it was a beautiful way to share that story and blend modern versus the original time in which it happened.
Yeah, I second that. I also, for me, the character itself was interesting because, well, first of all, it was, it's been years since I've played a modern day man, so that was refreshing. But the ambiguity of sacrifice was a fun line to sort of toe, acting wise. And then also the opportunity to tell this Easter story, but sort of focus on the seasonal aspect of it, of how, we all go through seasons. And there's going to be seasons that are considered winter seasons where things are dying and burning away. And the Easter story is this spring story of an opportunity for rebirth. And we're the opportunity to tell that story through a family drama where this relationship might be dying and parts, the father might be actually dying, and but with death comes an opportunity for something fresh and new. So there's a wildfire going through, and now we have to seize the opportunity to take advantage of that, and let the dead parts of us fall away so that the fresh new parts of us that need to persist can have an opportunity to grow. And so I think that our film does a great job of showcasing that very thing.
I think so too. Amen. That was like, were you a poet as well? That was like absolutely beautiful. I love that.
He's deep, you guys. He's so deep.
I know. So far during this press tour, I keep like catching myself going like, "What am I, Jordan Peterson?" Like, relax, just have some fun, dude. You don't have to be so deep all the time.
Very analytical.
No, keep going. Keep going.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both so much for spending some time with me. And I can't wait to tell people about this film to check it out again. It's the perfect family friendly Easter movie. So it clearly spells out the gospel. So it's very easy for us to get behind it 100%. So thank you both so much. Enjoy this busy season as well. I know you guys have a lot on your plate right now, but enjoy it.
Thanks so much, Carly. It was great to see you again after all this time. And thank you, everybody, for the support. Go see 47 Days, March 11th.
47 Days with Jesus is in theaters March 11th, 12th, and 14th. You can find more info at 47daysfilm.com. Okay, now on to a subject that is not so family friendly, but it's still just as important. If you have little ears around, you may want to pause and watch this later. My next conversation is with Joshua Broome. And believe it or not, he is a former adult entertainment star, now turned preacher. His story of redemption and freedom is fascinating and powerful. In fact, he has now written a book called 7 Lies That Will Ruin Your Life. He says these are the lies that he held on to until he found his faith.
Oh, we're in trouble, Joshua. There is a lot. We have been chatting. It took us a while to hit record here because there is so much we've been talking about. And I'm just, wow, so thankful that you have been sharing your story now for a little while. I first heard of your story on I Am Second. And the reason why I am so passionate about promoting faith-based, family-friendly programming is I'm a mom. I have 3 young kiddos, as do you. Have a number of young kiddos as well.
Yeah, 4 boys.
Yeah. And it is a crazy world we live in right now. And again, I'm just so thankful that you are bold enough and brave enough to start these conversations. So I want to start there and just congratulate you and thank you on behalf on the Christian community as well.
Oh, it's my honor. And I love partnering with organizations like I Am Second because they tell compelling stories, but they also point people to Jesus in a practical way. So after, I share my story, and then part of what we did, which was pretty unique because they've started doing this since, but that was the first time where I clearly articulated the gospel, and then I'm pointing people to resources where if you're hearing my story and you're struggling with pornography, here's a resource. If you are looking to give your life to Jesus, here's an online missionary that's going to point you to a church near you. Or if you're someone that is disconnected from the church and you're looking to get back into church, here's some resources to find a church that's closest to you and a person to meet with. So I love when, because it's amazing to share these stories and to prompt people and encourage people. But if you can provide somebody with the next step, all of a sudden they can have hope they didn't have. And that's how people change.
Amen. And that's what I'm always talking about. I never want movies or TV shows or anything that none of that replaces the church, right? The whole goal is to
Yeah,
start gospel
together.
conversations and then connect them to the church.
Yeah, that's so
So
good.
talk about when you see, because again, the headline, and again, because you have this book that's out, and the headline is "Porn Star to Pastor," and it's so shocking in a way.
Yeah.
But Pat, when you hear the word pastor, I mean, are you doing a church? Like, are you just speaking? I mean, talk about what that word means to you and what you are doing now with that title.
Yeah. So just slight, not correction, but so it's a preacher. So
Okay.
so it's the preacher. But so you if you've heard my story, you've probably heard a million times, porn star to pastor. But I was a pastor on two different church staffs over the last few years. But since 2022. I have been doing exclusively itinerant ministry. So my wife and I, we started a nonprofit. It's called Finding Hope. And I travel and speak at different churches. We've spoke at about 100 churches over the last 2 years. And God keeps opening doors to do that. But yeah, to my story. So I was in the adult film industry 11 years ago is when I left. So from 2006 to 2013, I was one of the most successful people in that industry. And I was someone that grew up in a really small town in South Carolina. I was, I share the story that many people share, unfortunately, that I grew up in a fatherless home, which is normative, unfortunately, and specifically in Western society and Western culture. But what was unique about my story was that my father was just down the road. He was in this small town and I would see him. So I would have a tangible reminder of the thing that made me feel inadequate. So, like many people, I believe most people have this high achiever personality. And if you see yourself through the lens of brokenness, you will respond with brokenness. And what I believed was I could fix myself. And I needed to get the approval of others. And I did that through achievement and trying to say the right things and do the right things so that people would affirm me, because my heart desperately wanted to hear, "Son, I'm proud of you." And it wasn't. So I tried to fabricate that by getting counterfeits through, being a good student or a good athlete or all these things, doing good things, but doing them for the wrong reason. And then I started modeling and acting when I was 12, 13, got really involved in theater, studied theater in college, moved out to LA, got an agent. I was doing a lot more modeling than I was acting. Was involved like in LA at the Improv, like taking classes there, and having some success acting, but having far more success modeling. And then three girls came up to me and they asked me a question that changed the rest of my life. They asked me if I wanted to do it, if I wanted to be an actor, but they were talking about pornography. And I was living a promiscuous lifestyle. I'd been exposed to pornography when I was 13. I didn't have a biblical worldview. I'd never seen a healthy dynamic regarding relationship at home. So, Romans 12:2 talks about you're either being conformed by the world or you're being transformed by the renewing of your mind. So I was certainly being conformed by the world. And there are so many people across the world that are being educated by their screens in contrast to people who care about them. And I said yes. I said yes to something that I should not have said yes to. And that decision changed the trajectory of my life. And I did one film and my life fell apart. My agent fired me. My mom found out. My friends found out. And then that shame and guilt caused me to believe the lie, because if you believe a lie to be true, which
I was just going to say this. So there's those
book,
7 big lies, and that's the first one, the false approval.
Yeah. And it's really like the overarching theme is if you believe a lie to be true, it's true to you. And you see, through that lie, you see yourself, you see relationships, you see sex, you see, everything, money, God, like you see everything through that lie. And, you essentially, you create a worldview out of that lie. And for me, I believe because I did a bad thing, I was now a bad person. And because I felt unwanted, I was not valuable. So I was this person that wasn't valuable, that was bad because I did bad things. So I might as well continue doing that because this is who I am. And that's the lie the culture tells you, that this is just who I am. And often it has to do with experiences that you've had or trauma this happened to you. But for me, I'm like, okay, well, I've got no other choice but to continue doing this. And I stayed in that industry for 6 years, and all the while thinking, if I make enough money, if I become famous enough, it'll mitigate the wound that I have in my heart. I'll feel valuable. I'll feel wanted if I do those things. And I truly believe it was God's kindness. Romans 2:4 talks about it's his kindness, his patience, his love that leads us into repentance, which means to turn from ourselves, turn from our sin, turn from our brokenness, and turn to him. I experienced everything that I thought I wanted, because I made the money, I did all the stuff. And then when I achieved the success that I thought that would fix me, and it didn't work, it broke me, and it led me to a place where I wanted to take my life. And I because of one interaction, because of one person that saw me and spoke my name, and there's this beautiful interaction. It's a bank teller in the bank. It's like the day I'm going to take my life, and I hand her this check with a memo that said what I was being compensated for. And I was really trying to be masochistic. I was really trying to say, hey, I want you to validate the way that I feel about myself. So you say something derogatory about me or antagonistic about me or shake your head or scuff your nose at me so that I know that I should feel the way that I feel about myself. And instead, her response was to look me in the eye and call me by name. And it changed everything. And I ran for my life.
Your
And
real
I
name,
promise I'm
because
gonna
at
land
this
this
point you
plane.
were using a stage name. So
Yeah. Yeah, so it's so interesting. It's so interesting in that adult film industry. The first thing that I was promised was that he would make my name famous, this agent. And then the first thing I did was I surrendered my name and chose another name, because no one in that industry, for the most part, goes by their name. And it's so interesting because it's this. If you're not going by your name, obviously there should be some kind of red flag going up saying there's shame attached to this. But yeah, so I the day that I planned to take my life, I didn't. I ran for my life, and then I spent, what many people do. I tried to put enough good dirt on my bad dirt, so I didn't feel dirty. I tried to do enough good things so I didn't feel bad about the bad things that I did. So I'm working at a gym. I'm helping people. Long story short, this girl walked in and she rocked my world. She's the prettiest thing I ever seen, and I asked her out on a date, and she said no, and that made me want to talk to her even more. And I got her to agree to a run, and we met for this run. And I was like, I'm tired of lying. I'm tired of carrying this baggage. I'm trying to pretend like I'm okay when I'm not. I'm just going to tell her everything. And I did. And her response was, well, are you doing those things now? And I said, no. She's like, well, a person's not defined by the worst thing they've ever done. And a person's not defined by the greatest thing they'll ever do. There's a creator God that made me and you. Do you know him? And I didn't. And she shares with me her faith, and we walk and talk, and then she invites me to church. And when I went to church, I heard the gospel truly. And I heard that there was a God that not only sent his son into this world to die the death that I deserved and pay the price that I owed, but he did it with love in his heart. Hebrews 12:2 talks about it was joy set before him that he endured the cross. So it was the fact that, yes, in the eyes of my heart was open to the truth of the gospel, but at the same time I needed to understand, because I felt like this is not for me. Like, it's true, but not for me. My own father didn't want me. Like, how could God in flesh die for me? Why would he do that? That doesn't make sense. And then when he read Hebrews 2, I was like, okay, if he had joy in his heart, that means he had love in his heart. And there's a God that loves me, that not only sacrificed everything for me, that did it with love in his heart for me.
It's the
And
most beautiful redemption story.
yeah.
And what I love about you too, and about what this book is, I want to make sure people know, because I think when you speak, and again, I can understand why you now have a title of a preacher as well. But when you talk, so many, like you said, the issues are not just circled around pornography.
Yeah, if there's breath in your lungs, this book is for you, because what is true is the world is propagating lies. And if you believe those lies, they will lead you to emptiness and despair and brokenness. And that is everybody's story. Romans 3:23 says we've all sinned and fall short of the glory of God. And then Romans 6:23 says the wages of sin is death. So if we're all guilty and we're all living in this brokenness because of this eternal death, this separation from God, we're all longing for something that we need. And the world tells us that there's something outside of the person of Jesus that can fix our heart. But what is true is our heart is longing for the only thing that can fix our heart, which is Jesus. And there's this, this struggle there. But there's many more lies than seven. But the seven cultural lies that we see, approval, purpose, intimacy, healing. Those are the things that I really wanted to focus on, because I have the most authority to speak into them, and they're the most commonality in regarding the struggle that we all share. Every parent has opened up Instagram and wondered, how did you get all of your kids to smile at the same time? How is your kids' playroom clean? What did you do? How did you bribe them? Am I doing enough? This person's healthier than me. This person's more successful than me. What do I need to do so that I can measure up? And what is true is, man, your worth and your value has already been proven by Jesus and what he did on the cross. And if you extract your value from the place that matters most, then and only then you can see rightly. And that's really the overarching theme of the book. There's lies of this world, and if you believe them, they lead to emptiness and death. But there's truth to be found in the person of Jesus and with the words of Jesus that will lead you to an abundant life where there's joy, peace, purpose, and satisfaction.
Amen. I hope people get this book. Again, it's just not, for those, who are struggling, with pornography or adult entertainment. I mean, it really is kind of the basics of what the enemy wants us to believe.
Yeah,
So,
and it's a way out. So it's
yeah,
like here's the lie,
yeah,
here's what's true, here's how it impacted my life, here's a story of how it impacted someone else's, and here's the truth that we both found that worked, and this is how you can interject that truth and walk in that truth in your life. So it's a recipe. Hey, how do you heal from the brokenness that the world causes? It's a recipe book for joy, peace, and patience. So
amen. And who doesn't want that?
that?
Oh, well, Joshua, thank you again.
You can find his book where most books are sold, including Amazon. I hope you enjoyed tonight's show. I'm Carly Boyette, and I look forward to seeing you next week right here on your Christian Television Network.